Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about the Saturn-Uranus square that is relevant this year of 2021. Now, what people need to understand about astrology is the movements of planets, and their continual movements is like a process. Yes, there's so much to this, and when you understand their cycles, this is where you really start to understand the unfoldment of events as they occur worldwide in accordance to the movements of the stars and the planets. So before I begin, I want to remind everyone to go to my website and sign up for my free newsletter where you can receive all of my predictions delivered to your email address. And while you're there, don't forget to check out my beautiful spiritual jewelry where you will see prayer malas and earrings that remind us of our spiritual path. Go to galacticcenter.org. Continuing on talking about the Uranus and Saturn square. Now, I find that these aspects, they are long aspects. In other words, they are happening for long durations, and they can pretty much cover an entire year that they will flavor the events. So I thought I might share with you some of my research that I've been doing about these planets, the three outer planets. As they aspect Saturn and Jupiter, they are causing world events that affect the economy and most of all, the social consciousness and climate going on in the world amongst humanity. So looking at this, let's talk about this cycle. The cycle that is occurring this year is the one with Saturn aspecting Uranus. Now, what I talk about is the hard aspects, are the aspects that cause events. What are the hard aspects? Now, when we talk about aspects, these are where planets are placed relative to each other, and certain degree points cause events, such as the conjunction, that means the planets are together in the same sign. The opposition, that means they're exactly opposed by sign, and the square, which is actually 90 degrees. So in this process, let's consider that from conjunction all the way around to another conjunction between Saturn and Uranus will take 45 years. So the last time that we had an exact conjunction, well, let's go back to a couple of times that we had conjunctions. The last one, though, was in 1988. This was when Uranus and Saturn came together in the sign of Sagittarius. And actually, these signs are what give them meanings. The portions of the zodiac give them meanings, such as what stars are there, what fixed stars may be there. This is what causes true events. But you see, the nakshatra that Saturn and Uranus were conjoined in 1988 was in the nakshatra Mula. This nakshatra is the nakshatra that deals with destruction. The god of destruction, Nriti, is the one that rules Mula. And through great destruction, eventually comes a clearing and a healing. But this was the 1988 conjunction. And really, if I went back 45 years from that, we would come to 1942, which during that conjunction was during the midst of World War II. That was extraordinarily destructive. So these were the conjunctions, but you see there's a whole cyclic process of the conjunction. Then 12 years later, from the conjunction, where Saturn, which is the faster moving planet, starts to move away from Uranus, and it comes to its waxing square. Waxing means it's the faster moving planet is moving away from the slower moving planet. And we come to that square. Now that square, it all happened, let me give you the dates. So this would have been approximately 12 years later. So from that point, from 1988, then we came to 1999, 2000. And this was the waxing square. Then you would have the opposition 12 years later, which at this point in time was 2009 to 2010. And now we have come back to the waning square where Saturn is 90 degrees from Uranus, just like it was during the waxing square of 1999-2000. And actually they're in the same signs because Saturn right now is in Capricorn, Uranus is in Aries. But back then we had the reversal where we had Saturn in Aries and Uranus in Capricorn. So you see this event that's coming towards the end of the year where we have the third and final aspect will be very similar to the waxing square that happened in 1999-2000. So then again, we will have these planets will come back to a conjunction. This will be approximately around 2032. But right now we're in this process. So there's the conjunction, the waxing square, the opposition, the waning square, which we are in right now, and it will come back 12 years from now to another conjunction. But here's what I want you to understand. Within the year that we have these hard aspects occurring, which 2021, we're in it. There's 3 different hits that flavor the whole year because you see, they will go back and forth 3 times forming this squaring aspect that flavors this entire year. So looking at this, going back, it was around December, January that there was the square of 2021. Then come along in July, happened again. And then we're looking at the end of the year, November, December, that we're going to have the third and final square that flavors this whole cycle for this year. And let me go back to some of the events. Well, first of all, let's talk about what Saturn means and what Uranus means. Saturn means the old, the worn out, the tradition, conservative, the old ways of doing things, while Uranus is the new, the progressive, freedom-loving, breakthroughs, things that happen unexpectedly, completely out of the blue. It's called the Great Awakener. But going back to the year of 1999 to 2000, there were a lot of things that happened that year that I think are due to happen again by the end of this year, because this should be similar. One thing I have discovered in my research, Uranus rules earthquakes. And another thing is airplanes. And each and every time we had a hard aspect between Uranus and Saturn, there were tremendous amounts of earthquakes and airline crashes. Now, I want to make a point here that this has not necessarily happened yet in 2021, but I believe it's about to really come about for the last part of this year of 2021. Now, let me go back to 1999 to 2000, some of the similarities to this one. Saturn deals with government, Uranus is breakthroughs and change. And in the year of 2000, remember there was the presidency where George W. Bush won, but there was a big discrepancy whether he really won. And it wasn't until December after the November 7th election that they finally said, okay, George W. Bush is the president. And if we go back to the last Uranus-Saturn square, which was December of this particular year of 2020, the same discrepancy happened over the presidential race. Whether you believe one way or another, there was the same discrepancy that went on. And don't forget, Saturn rules government, rulers, leaders, business. And Uranus is change. So that's another similarity. Now, another thing that was very interesting in 1999 was JFK Jr. died in an airplane crash with his wife and her sister. Furthermore, right after that, a couple of weeks, we had that major earthquake in Turkey. And that was intense. Yes, I've talked to many people that lived through that, and it was devastating. So another thing that was going on 1999-2000 was the .com. There was this amazing bubble of the stock market, but it burst. Could this be indicating that the same square between Uranus and Saturn in the same signs but reversed bring a similar event coming up here by the end of the year? Cycles don't lie. Now, another thing was during another one of these very difficult time periods when we had Saturn and Uranus in opposition. This was 2009 and 2010. There again was some very famous people that died, just like JFK Jr. in 1999. And, that could have been a little bit, about politics and things like that. But in 2009 and 2010, this was when Michael Jackson died. And on the same day, Farrah Fawcett. So some very powerful, famous people could go by the end of the year. And I think it could be political, or they may be in politics. Now, another thing was that earthquake in Haiti that happened in 2010. Around that time, there was 250,000 people died in that earthquake. So my point is, Uranus rules earthquakes and airplanes. Saturn rules death and endings. And all this is due to happen within the last part of this year. Because what I find is when you pair together these tremendous aspects that influence and flavor an entire year, but when you come close to the time of the eclipses, which will be next December, and around November, December, we're going to have a powerful solar eclipse. And right after, Mars will go into Scorpio where the eclipse is, crossing over K2. Mars K2 has always come together with major events. As a matter of fact, September 11th, 2001, Mars was with K2 in Sagittarius. Then again, last February 2020, Mars was in K2 in Sagittarius, and that caused the whole coronavirus to come down. But now Mars will be in Scorpio the end of the year, crossing over the eclipse degrees on the last day of the year, December 31st, 2021. What I'm going to say is the next part of this year, till the end of the year, is going to be monumental change like never before. Great destruction that clears the air and brings an incredible change and healing, but not without great destruction. So this is the cyclic process of the planets. This is what they do in terms of humanity. So my predictions are that the past repeats itself. And I want everyone to be aware of the major crises in change that is due to happen, because with so many people being locked down, losing their jobs, the financial institutions change and go down. There is going to be a lot more death. And I don't think it's necessarily from the coronavirus, because I think it's going to be from major accidents, earthquakes, crashes, but probably suicides. Suicides from the depression and the problems of the lockdowns and the fact that the people no longer trust the governments because of all that has been transpiring. And this beautiful aspect of revolutionary change and awakening, Uranus, to the change of the old past habits and patterns that no longer serve us. This is what the planets are doing. They're opening and changing, but unfortunately, people won't change unless they have to. And this is what's happening. So with that, I'd like to close. If you would like more information on me, you can always go to my website, sign up for a reading, go to galacticcenter.org. And if you would like to study Vedic astrology with me, check out my university website. It is stellar. Go to University of Vedic Astrology.com. Thank you.